Welcome back to the Suit and Scrubs podcast, where business meets bedside. I'm Dan Haggerty, the guy in the suit, joined by three of the best home health PTs out there, Brendan Kirby, Lisa Thompson, and Dan Catuccio. Before we dive in, check out careandmotion.co for tools, tips, and products for anyone in home health. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen to us. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell so you never miss an episode. All right, let's dive in. After Brendan and I reflected on year one of Care in Motion in season one of the Home Health Suit and Scrubs podcast, I had the honor of taking some time with Dan and Lisa to talk about our guests this year and our favorite episodes. Now, I think this is a must listen as we talk through the best tips from the last year and some of the exciting things to come as we kick off this season. If you haven't listened to all of season one, I get it. Think of this as your Cliff Notes. But if you have, it's still a fresh reminder of all the best takeaways. Be sure to stick around to learn what we're launching this November. In just a few weeks, we've got several big things coming. Welcome back. I'm excited to do a second wrap-up of the year in review with Dan and Lisa. How are you guys doing?
Hey, y'all. Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're hanging in there.
Mm-hmm.
Happy New Year.
I know. I'm going to say good. But after the day that I had, I'm just going to say it and smile.
Just keep repeating it. I'm good. I'm doing well. I'm not
All is
burned
good.
out.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah, everything is good.
Well, this is a time to be happy. It's a special episode. It's a part two of our season wrap up, and we realized that we had produced 25 episodes, and we're like, that is a perfect point in time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
Awesome.
That's the perfect time to pause and look back before we start season two. And so I pulled the numbers. I was talking to Brendan in the last episode where he and I kind of reflected on all of this and was like, okay, 25 episodes, 750 minutes of content that we have published, almost 8,000 downloads.
Wow.
Yes. And we've had so many different great guests. We've had multiple PTs. We've had an OT. We've had several speech therapists. We've had a PTA that really took charge, Tracy, two nurses, a social worker, a compliance officer, a onboarding and preceptor trainer, Diane with Beata. We've had who else? A police officer. So it's really been. You think back and look at the whole season, and I feel like we've covered the gamut.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So so it's been a season. What do you guys think? What's your favorite episode, Dan?
I would say the one that sticks out to me, because I remember saying, hey, we got to have you on again, because this is like, for me, just so many beautiful nuggets of wisdom. It was Teresa Davis, the executive director of that company.
Accent Care. Yep. Accent
Care. And I loved her story because she's a speech therapist who, man, if you watch that episode, you just hear so many mindset things of how she knew that she was destined for something bigger than what she was doing. And she wasn't going to take no for an answer. She didn't have to, because she made amazing relationships and she had all these mindset shifts of, no, this is something that I can do. I did not go to school to be an executive director at first, but I've built relationships and I've shown you time and time again that I can do this. And she rose to this massive level, and she was humble, and she just gave a lot of really nice nuggets of wisdom that I loved, because they were like entrepreneurial. They were, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do this if you feel like in your gut that you have what it takes. Yeah. Loved it.
Yeah, there's a good way to kind of show there's growth in home health. There's different aspects that you can do, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's running the entire organization now. I had the pleasure to work with Teresa. We had an opening in sales in Chicago, and she was one of the 100 therapists that are there. And applied for the job. And of course, for me, I get this resume that came through, and there's no business development or sales, marketing experience on there. But I thought, well, it's one of our own people. I'd love to, interview her just to meet her, if nothing else. And I mean, the minute that she walked in the room, I got this feel, it's like one of those things where it's almost like after the first 60 seconds, you could almost be like, there's no need to continue this interview, but out of being polite, well, I'm going to do it for another 29 minutes so she doesn't think she bombed it. But you're like, I almost want to just hire her on the job. And she was absolutely phenomenal in that role, then moved into the back office and ran the entire back office, and then ultimately got the opportunity at Accent Care. And if you've not listened to that episode, like, there are so many just little leadership tidbits that you can take away. And Lisa, to your point, I mean, you look at the career progression literally over the course of less than 4 years, going from home health. This is for people that are interested in this, obviously, going from home health speech therapist to running an operation that's probably got, 200-300 employees. It was pretty crazy.
It's amazing.
So I like that episode too, Dan. Good one. Lisa, you got a favorite?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites was when it was Bruce, right? Bruce on for the police officer, talking about safety in the home and what to look for, what to have on, signs to be safe in the home, especially with the most recent, like last week, the nurse being held at gunpoint by a patient's family member in the home, and how she fought back and escaped, right? So knowing that these things are very real and they're very out there in the home health community. And I think that's a really good one. If you haven't listened to that, to go and listen and know these tips to be safer in the home and what to look out for and what to be able to do, because that one is really, really important.
I, some of the stuff, like some of the things that I've seen, at least, obviously what you were referencing about the being held at gunpoint is very on one end of the safety spectrum. But another one that seems to come up frequently is, aggressive animals and dog bites and things. I feel like once a month we have someone that's going to the hospital because of something like this. And I thought Bruce's tips and suggestions for some of that was helpful too. I don't know if you guys come across that quite a bit, but even everything from patients and caregivers.
There's always dogs in the home, and being, diligent about having them put the dogs away, right? Because you just never know. And also, I think he also talked about knowing like who else is in the home and being aware of that. I mean, I had a situation even today where my patient and the family member were arguing back and forth across the room, right? And you're kind of sitting there like, okay, is this going to escalate into something? Do I need to start shutting this down? Like, I was just kind of answering the questions and then moving on, right? And it stopped. But those things happen, I think, way more often than is out there, right? Than that's being reported. I mean, you make a post on it and I've got so many people, I had a spouse pull a knife on me, thanks for sharing this, know where your exits are, right? Like, where are resources? Some people, their company provides these like safety device buttons that track your location, and they have them on their person. They press this button and it calls the cops.
Yeah,
right?
We just got them at our company.
Did you?
Katana.
Everybody. Yeah, like a silent like button that you press.
It's a Bluetooth. Yeah, it's connected to your phone, and all you got to do is press it, and it'll call 911, and it'll also notify those who you want to be identified at your office, like your CEO or whatever. Like, and that way there can be multiple people alerted all at once, which is really nice.
So what happens after you press it and those folks are alerted? What happens next?
It's a good question.
The police dispatched to the house, or?
Yeah, so I believe what happens is you press it and it asks you to identify, like, if this was a mistake or if this was for real. And I forget what you have to do because I haven't had to actually use it. I should probably learn this. But then it'll call the cops, and they'll come to where you are because it can locate you, it can track you, which is really, really nice,
these should be just standard issued from companies, I think, because
I do too.
Home health, like clinician safety, I think is starting to become more of a topic, especially with all of the news outlets that are happening around it. So
yeah, I agree with you.
that's nice you guys have those.
He had a good suggestion too. I can't off the top of we actually took his tips and we kind of boiled them down to the top 10. If I remember correctly, I think it's a download that's available on the website. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, he suggested was it judo training just for like
that.
You remember, but I have to go back and take a look. But it was sort of like, hey, this is obviously like you're not
self-defense type of.
Yeah, it's self-defense, and the tips and tricks that you'll learn in that are good just in general for life. Mm-hmm. But and Bruce is just a fun guy to listen to. So if you haven't heard that one, it's a fascinating one. I enjoyed when Tracy Rydell, who's a PTA, came on. I know she had written in and approached us and said, I want to talk about, care coordination and, working with the supervising PT in different ways to better coordinate, because, too many times she shows up and, into the home and is, looking at the eval or the start. And, I know she came to it with, generally some questions. And then within, I think about, at least I can't remember if you were on that one.
I wasn't. I'm kind of bummed I wasn't on it. I think I was out of town.
She like took Dan and Brendan to task. It was hilarious. So we, after it was over, I remember we all stayed around after we stopped recording, and we're like, I already know the name of this episode. It's like the PTA flips the script and starts supervising the PTs. I mean, it was absolutely hilarious. Like the evolution of this, because she's got such a take charge kind of personality. Yeah. It was a lot of fun to hear her perspectives.
Yeah, as totally was. I was like, I hope I say the right things, because I do not want to make her mad. Like, she's, like, I want to make sure that I'm saying what I need to say.
That's funny.
Yeah. So if I go through some of these episodes, this will be a fun test to see if you. If I picked out, I think 5 or 6 or 7, 8, 9 episodes. I'll name the episode. See if you can name off some of the best tips that you guys shared for everybody. This should be easy, I would think.
It's like Jeopardy. I love this.
It's like Jeopardy.
Like my brain is dead.
I think it was our second episode. It was not a very creative name in retrospect, but how to be more efficient, scheduling tips, communicating with patients, and more, something like that. So, all right, what do you think some of the best of tips for scheduling and communicating with patients?
I mean, scheduling is not given a lot of options, right? Saying I'm going to come, but this time to this time, not asking, hey, when can I come see you? Right. For me,
what time works best for you?
Yeah. No. And they're like, well, 4 p.m. works great. Like, well, it's like, no, I'm in your area at this time. Does that? I usually say I'm here, I'm coming at this time. Does that work? Yeah. But I know I shouldn't. But it's very kind of abrupt.
But ultimately, what you learn, though, Lisa, is you learn by getting stepped on for years. You learn by, I'm not going to call it being taken advantage of, because patients don't know. I mean, it's like, but if you allow them to take control of all of it, then yeah. So we do have to kind of give a bit of rigid. Of course, we're going to try to accommodate as much as we can. But then I also say, let's give them a 30-minute range. Some people give them an hour range, whatever it works. But that way, you give yourself some grace throughout the day. Like, my last one I'll schedule between 1 and 1:30, whatever, 2:30. That way, it allows you to have those curveballs, to recover from those curveballs, to pull over and have an actual little bit of a lunch, to be able to take a breather, whatever you need to do. Because if you tell them you're getting there at 2:00 and it's 2:04, Mrs. Robinson's calling the company and be like, Dan said he's going to be here. I hope he's okay. I don't know if he's in a ditch. Like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Never give an exact time ever. And if you are, like, I'll be there at 2. I mean, like, around 2-ish, right? If you really feel like you need to say 2:00. But handling the curveballs. I had a very bad accident between my patients. I didn't have the accident, but Life Flight came in. The roads were shut down. My drive went from like 35 minutes to almost an hour, right?
Ooh.
And so I'm like, well, text my patient, like, hey, I'm going to be, but I was only 15 minutes late because I gave a pretty decent window, right? Mm-hmm. And then also my admission. And I think knowing with scheduling is the patients have no idea what our schedules really are, because I had a schedule by patient today, my admission at 1:00, right? He was supposed to go to dialysis at 6:00 this morning. Well, he ended up not being able to go. So I get a text from the daughter saying, hey, he's not going to dialysis, so you can come anytime you want. Like, well, I'll actually still be there around 1 because I'm completely booked up, right? Like, I still have people to see, and I just don't think they really understand.
Like, I assume he's the only one you're seeing today.
Like, you're coming just for him at 1:00, right? Like, no, I actually have like 4 or 5 other people before you.
Right. That was going to be the next episode I asked about was, and I think Dan, you named this one, but it was handling curveballs. Yeah. You guys had a lot of suggestions on that one.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole front loading thing, we've all heard that word. There was a time that my productivity was 32 units, which meant I had to do 7 routine visits on a Monday and Tuesday to front load. Do I really have to see 8? Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. I don't want to do 8. You know what I mean? But all that said, so thankfully our productivity has been reduced since then. But front loading is obviously a very nice way of being able to, lessen the blow if it happens later on in the week where, you have someone cancel last minute. But I always say, listen, if you have done everything in your ability, to recover from curveballs. I mean, I'm not kidding when I tell you the past 4 weeks, I've had more, I think, than I've had in the year. I don't know what it is. But you do everything you can to recover. You call patients. I called 4 evals a couple days ago. None of them wanted it. I'm like, this is crazy, right? It happens. And so at the end of, on Friday, you're like, oh my gosh, forgive me, supervisor, for I have come up short, like by 1 point, like, please don't kill me, And I'm joking and being dramatic, but literally I'll email my boss and say, I've done everything within my control to reach my productivity. And I'm down by a point because of all this slew of stuff. And I just tell them, and, I don't know what else to say. I worked my butt off. It's like, it's hard to even say, forgive me. I just worked my butt off and still got, awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I've done anything wrong, but you have to feel bad. So that's a little bit of a thing where you have to just kind of like take a deep breath and say, listen, you truly can only control the things you control. And you have to let go of the other stuff, because that is the stuff that will just knock you down if you're not careful about it. It can spiral you into like mega stress, especially us perfectionists who like to we want to please everyone. We want our supervisors to know that we can handle anything they throw at us. You do the best you can, and it doesn't feel good. You feel guilty, and you're like, it's a crappy feeling to feel guilty after you've busted your butt and sat in a parking lot and called 4 evals and still come up short. You know what I mean? Like, you can only do what you can do.
You're like, it's never enough.
Yeah. Like, what do you want?
Well, and I think, Lisa, if it may have not been the episode, but one of these, and you kind of touched on it, Dan, it's like, hey, I'm calling my, or either at the end of the week or at some point, like, hey, I know I'm at X points and I'm supposed to be at Y, but sort of negotiating points for, some of the curveballs or the extra drive time, things of that nature, because in many cases with many agencies, it could be sort of not an arbitrary, but you can negotiate, right? And then when someone's looking at, so then you got some jerk like me that's, sitting there looking at a report at the end of the week or the end of the month, and, there's a X% of the total Target, like along the way, that negotiation has added to that number so that it doesn't stand out as this outlier. Like, oh my gosh, why is this person at 80%? It's like, no, we added that back in so that it reflects what actually
4
happened.
hours a day.
Yeah.
Which like I added an extra extended travel NBA point today for one of my drives that was 45 plus minutes between patients. So why if I'm driving 45 minutes between somebody, I could see an entire patient in that time if my territory was smaller, right? So
big deal.
You get 0.25 points for this, which is okay, like thank you, it's something. But like I could actually get a whole point for seeing another patient in 45 minutes. That's the next door neighbor. And I know I always try and front load, but I front load for a different reason. I front load because I want to see more people Monday, Tuesday, because I want to work like a half day Friday. Right? Because it being paid per visit, if I don't see a patient or if a patient cancels on me, you're not getting paid, right? Like maybe I don't meet my productivity, but if I'm supposed to be 28 points productive and I'm 26, the company doesn't care, right? Because they're not paying me for those 2 points that they're paying Dan, right? I'm just not getting paid.
Right.
So there can be a difference, or a patient cancels and I go to Target. Now I'm out $100 and then I just spent $100. So now I'm double whammy.
Right.
I do feel obligated as the suit and the non-clinician to explain one piece is that like we always look at, full-timer, even if you're pay per visit. So if you're full-time and pay per visit with in-home therapy, then you most likely are getting benefits. And benefits cost about $1,100 per month. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, if someone's doing it costs the company, right? So the company's paying $1,100, and then you're doing your premiums or deductions, I forget, whatever. So when the company's looking at it, it's like, okay, you're going to make whatever your visits are per week, and then at the end of the month, there's this also $1,100 amount of money that needs to be spread out over 110 points or 110 visits. So if somebody doesn't achieve the points target, then if they were supposed to do 110 visits, then those benefits cost about $10 per visit, right? So if they only do, let's say 90, then the benefits cost goes up to like, call it, $15 per visit. So then you start to look at this financial analysis and you're like, oh, there's all these hidden like costs, this hidden burden. It's like not really part of the pay per visit piece. And that's where they get upside down. But whenever I'm outnumbered 2-1, I don't like to mention that too much. So,
well, I don't take benefits. So,
well, then don't worry about productivity. No, I'm kidding.
But now I'm like, well, you're going to pay $1,100 a month for me to have benefits, but I don't need them. Maybe you should pay me more.
Oh, I just helped with a negotiation that I don't know. You're right.
I like it.
Which I think people have actually used that as a negotiation tactic of,
100%.
Look, you're not going to pay me benefits. You would if I were needing them. So I want to recoup some of that, in a higher per visit rate.
I would say 100%. If you're in the middle of a negotiation with a company that is offering, full-time pay per visit or salary, and I'd say in 98% of those circumstances, benefits is probably going to be at least medical, right? Medical, dental, vision is probably a component of that offer, and it's going to be at least $1,000. So that's going to give you some negotiation wiggle room to be like, hey, I'm taking benefits through a spouse, or maybe I'm buying them individually on the exchange. Definitely an opportunity to get that somehow in your per visit rate or your salary. Which, great segue. We talked remember this one, we talked about maximizing your income, different pay plans in home health. I know you guys had lots of good suggestions. And Dan, I think even on, I feel like you were on social media recently kind of giving some advice on, I think it was points based or, just making sure that you understand that piece of it. Or maybe Lisa, was it you? I can't remember.
I was talking about mileage and how
mileage. That's what it was. It was mileage.
Yeah, it was the conversation I was having was, really understanding before you sign up for, a job. I was young. I was in my 20s. I was like a cocky, proud guy who was like, yeah, throw whatever you want at me. I can handle it, man. I was like, and I didn't really know much of it. I was a travel therapist for a long time with home health. But my first like real temporary or permanent job, they're like, yeah, circle the towns that you'd be comfortable covering. And I'm like, I did like 12 towns, like just like spread out like the solar system. And
minutes,
I just,
40 minutes.
yeah, it's like I hadn't like, I was a smart guy, but not really, because when it came to home health, I'm like, I don't know. And so it's kind of like, unless you're prepared, you can get taken advantage of. You learn very fast after a year or two of home health that it does not make sense to cover this town and that town if you don't have to. Like, why? So, because of exactly what Lisa said, and Lisa works in a different kind of territory than I do. But 45-minute drives are not typical at all for me. But there are areas in Connecticut that sure you could. So there's
my thing with my drive today is I have like two kind of separate territories and I will group them, right? But the problem is, if as a starter care clinician, if you get an admission that needs to be seen, this priority ortho admission that's up here, and I have a Oasis research on the other side of my territory, these were like the two extremes of both of my territories, right? It's like, oh, it's only 25 miles, but that's a 45-minute drive on this 30-mile-an-hour road. And normally I don't do that, but sometimes it just works out that it does that. But I think I had made a post about like lies that you've been told in interviews. And I think that's a big thing, because you go in and say, hey, the company will come and you're going to be in this territory. Like, we'll really keep you there. But home health is so variable, I guess, and unpredictable of, if you don't have patients there, you can't send me there. Or like, if you're trying to build this territory up, that takes time. Referrals don't just come out of thin air, right? Or you think you have the referrals coming. So that's a big, and I don't really know how you kind of combat that with, now I just got hired on and you're sending me all over the place and this isn't what we agreed upon.
Well, there's coming from the flip side of that too. There's a lot of opportunities where if you say, wait a minute, if I'm going here, there, then that's not a win for any of us, because nobody's making any money if I'm driving all around town, right? The typical drive time for a day, like our target is 50 to maybe 70 miles tops. And that's probably on the higher end. And that is on the higher end. It should be, generally you look at the week and you want it to be maybe 200 to 250 miles. So call it, 40 to 50 a day.
Right.
But if someone's saying, hey, I need you to go over here, then one of the options that we've always seen is to go back to that, referral source to see, are there any other patients that you can send us that's in that area for that day, so that I can make the most time with the clinician. And we've even had therapists say, hey, listen, I'll go over there. I'll go outside of my, territory or my zone, but, can this wait another day or so that we can batch, 2, 3, 4 different patients over there, and that'll be my day. Right.
Yeah. Because then you're driving your 45 minutes, your hour to one location and seeing 5 people within a 10-mile or 5-mile radius, and then coming back. It's almost the same amount of time as if I'm driving 20 minutes between everybody. in a smaller,
and
slightly larger.
You let the office know, and then they can hopefully trigger the salesperson to reach back out to all the different referral sources and say, hey, yeah, we're happy to take this patient. We love it. But, you probably have one or two over there as well, right? So the final one, because I know this was a big one for us, was befriending the back office. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the name of your scheduler, but what was her name? Pat.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you have an amazing scheduler who, and it's almost like when you are a clinician. I mean, I don't know. There are so many clinicians that work under this particular scheduler. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you forget that there are 20-something that if she gets an email from all 20 of them in a 5-minute period of time, she is literally attending to all of those. But the amount of times that you have these last second curveballs where you have a cancellation at 11 a.m. and you're about to head into your 10 o'clock and you're like, I need an eval for that 11 o'clock. I don't even have time to call them because I'm going to be with the patient. Pat, if you can find someone in the East Hartford area, would you please do your best to find someone and just say, Dan will be there between 11 and 11:30. The amount of times that type of thing happens is just, and it just lifts this weight off your shoulders where, and what I say, and this is kind of common sense, but I mean, when they bend over backwards for you like that, you just flood them with thanks and, recognize them during the huddles and say, my gosh, Pat went above and beyond. And I just am so darn grateful for all the hard work that she does, all that stuff, because it makes our lives so much better when we can have that, be able to depend on them, because we all have changes in our day, like regularly.
Mm-hmm. Our scheduler just quit, so I'm on the opposite end.
You're like, I have to start from scratch and build a whole new relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like it's quid pro quo, right?
We're working on it.
It's like maybe a bank of credits and debits where it's like, okay, I'm going to do, not that you should always think this way, right? But it's kind of like, okay, for every favor I'm doing, I'm building up a bank where I'm hopeful that at some point I can redeem those. I think we called them like tokens or something at one point in time, but it's almost like, hey, I need a couple of favors and then I'm going to do a couple. And then, I mean, that's sort of like the basis of a business relationship.
Exactly. Like, hey, Dan, I don't know if you remember when I got you a last second eval when you were begging me. Hey, I also have a need for you to go see this patient. Will you? Sure. Because you literally saved my life.
Right. I enjoyed that episode. If you haven't listened to that one, I think that's a good one because that scheduler clinician relationship, I feel like it's so critical. And, there's always seeing it again from the flip side. There's certain situations where it's like, you just know that sometimes they're delving out referrals in patients because they're mad at somebody. You're like, why did you do that?
Like, did you read this referral? Do you hate me?
Well, it's been a great season. I can't tell you guys, like, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, like how much it's meant to me to be able to work with, the two of you guys. I know, like, obviously you're incredibly busy between like literally treating clinicians and evaluating clinicians and all the stuff that you've got going on, but to have the two of you be part of Care in Motion has been truly an honor. Really appreciate it.
It's been awesome being a part of it. It's been awesome watching it grow.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. I mean, we've got some neat partnerships with some, national companies that have come as a part of this. I know we've got some new products coming. We got the Smoky House Kit, Lisa, finally, that I know is near and dear to your heart. That will be launching within mid-October, so within the next couple of weeks. So, be on the lookout for that. Hopefully everybody out there has been to the website, careinmotion.co. We have a lot of cool guests that we have lined up for season 2. The one I really still am trying to get timed out is the recruiters, because I think it'd be fun to talk to the folks on the other end of the interview.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to be fun to see where this thing continues to go. So thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and just keep growing and providing a space for home health clinicians to resources and a place to go.
Yeah. And thank you to the audience for being a part of it, and keep sharing and keep spreading the word, because it is all about community, where you can feel like you can be heard and get some tips and tricks, and feel like you're not alone on your own little island.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Thank you to the entire community. Thank you guys for listening and downloading and checking out the website and everything else. So until next week, we will talk soon.
We'll see ya.